The courtroom doors slammed open so hard that every conversation stopped. The judge looked up from the bench. Lawyers froze in place. Reporters lowered their cameras. At the center of the room stood a confident young black woman in a cream-colored suit, her eyes locked on one man sitting alone at the defense table. His hands were cuffed. His business empire was collapsing around him, and every news station in the country had already declared him guilty before the trial had even begun. Marcus Johnson, once celebrated as one of the nation's most respected black entrepreneurs and a devoted single father, slowly turned toward the woman. She took one steady step forward and spoke only 4 words that echoed through the silent courtroom. "Your Honor, I represent him." Marcus stared at her in disbelief. He hadn't seen her in years, yet he recognized those determined eyes immediately. 17 years earlier, she had been a frightened homeless little girl sitting outside a bus station with torn shoes, an empty stomach, and no family left in the world. Back then, Marcus had barely been surviving himself. After losing his wife during childbirth, he was raising his infant son alone while working endless shifts repairing delivery trucks. Everyone told him adopting another child would ruin his future. Friends called him irresponsible. His own relatives begged him to walk away. But Marcus couldn't ignore the little girl shivering in the rain. When he offered her a sandwich, she refused to eat until she made sure his baby had been fed first. That single act of kindness changed everything. He named her Maya Johnson, not because they shared blood, but because he believed family was built through love instead of biology. Life became unimaginably difficult. Marcus worked double shifts while caring for 2 children. Bills piled up. The electricity was disconnected more than once. They often shared one simple meal each day, yet Marcus never allowed either child to feel unwanted. Every night he repeated the same promise. "Education is something nobody can ever steal from you." Maya believed every word. She studied beneath streetlights whenever the power disappeared. She borrowed library books because they couldn't afford new ones. Marcus sold his prized vintage motorcycle to pay her school tuition without telling her. Years later she discovered the sacrifice and cried all night, silently promising herself that one day she would repay every ounce of his love. As Marcus slowly expanded his tiny repair shop into Johnson Logistics, one of the largest transportation companies in the region, Maya excelled through school with unbelievable determination. Scholarships carried her into law school while Marcus proudly watched from the audience during every graduation ceremony. He never missed one milestone, even if it meant sleeping only 2 hours before work. Their bond became legendary throughout the neighborhood. Everyone admired the single father who had rescued a homeless child and raised her like his own daughter. But success always attracts enemies. Marcus's competitors secretly feared his honesty because he refused bribery and corruption. When his company won a multi-billion-dollar government transportation contract, jealous rivals launched a ruthless conspiracy. Financial records were manipulated. Fake witnesses appeared. Anonymous tips flooded federal investigators. Within weeks Marcus's offices were raided, his bank accounts frozen, and television headlines branded him as a criminal mastermind. Even worse, several trusted executives betrayed him in exchange for immunity. The empire Marcus had built through decades of sacrifice crumbled almost overnight. His biological son believed the accusations and disappeared overseas, ashamed of the family name. Marcus sat alone in jail believing he had lost everything, including the daughter he hadn't heard from in nearly 3 years after she accepted an international legal fellowship. Then, on the morning his trial began, the courtroom doors opened. The frightened homeless girl he had once carried home in his arms walked in as one of the nation's youngest elite attorneys. She wasn't there to watch. She wasn't there to say goodbye. She had returned for one reason: to save the father who had first saved her life. Before we continue to the incredible courtroom battle that changed everything, subscribe to the channel and join our family for more unforgettable stories about love, sacrifice, justice, and second chances that prove kindness always finds its way home. The silence inside the courtroom was almost unbearable as Maya placed her leather briefcase on the defense table and faced the judge. The prosecutors exchanged amused smiles, convinced the young attorney had arrived too late to stop the overwhelming evidence against Marcus Johnson. They displayed bank transfers, signed contracts, surveillance footage, and sworn testimony from former executives who insisted Marcus had orchestrated a massive fraud. Every piece of evidence appeared flawless. Reporters typed rapidly, expecting another wealthy businessman to fall. Marcus quietly leaned toward Maya and whispered, "Don't destroy your career trying to save an old man." She smiled gently, the same smile she had worn 17 years earlier when he handed her her first warm meal, and replied, "Dad, you taught me that the truth doesn't need luck. It only needs courage." Those words instantly reminded Marcus of the frightened little girl he had once rescued, but now she stood before the court with unshakable confidence. Maya requested permission to cross-examine the company's former chief financial officer, the prosecution's star witness. One simple question changed the entire trial. "Can you explain why this signature appears in documents dated 3 weeks after my father was recovering from emergency surgery in another state?" The witness hesitated. Maya projected hospital records, travel logs, and security footage proving Marcus had been hundreds of miles away when the documents were supposedly signed. The courtroom erupted in whispers. She continued relentlessly, exposing hidden emails recovered from encrypted servers, revealing that 3 senior executives had secretly planned to seize control of Johnson Logistics by framing its founder. One executive accepted immunity in exchange for false testimony, while another had transferred millions of dollars into offshore accounts under fake company names. The prosecution objected repeatedly, but every objection was overruled as Maya introduced certified evidence and expert witnesses. Then came the moment nobody expected. Maya called a retired security technician who had preserved backup surveillance files everyone believed were deleted forever. The video showed one of the executives entering Marcus's private office late at night, replacing original financial documents with forged copies. Gasps filled the courtroom. The prosecutor's confidence disappeared. Reporters stopped typing just to watch. Even the judge leaned forward. Maya wasn't finished. She presented voice recordings in which the conspirators openly admitted they believed no jury would ever question accusations against the successful businessman because public opinion had already convicted him. Finally, she looked directly at the jury and said, 17 years ago, this man found a homeless child that society had forgotten. He gave her a home, an education, a family, and a future without expecting anything in return. Today, the same man sits here because greedy people believed kindness was weakness. They underestimated one thing. Good people create good people. Tears filled Marcus's eyes as he watched the little girl he had adopted become the fearless woman defending him with everything she had. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned. Not guilty on all counts. The courtroom exploded with applause. Marcus closed his eyes in relief as the judge ordered his immediate release and directed prosecutors to investigate the conspiracy instead. Within weeks, the corrupt executives were arrested, investors returned with renewed confidence, and Johnson Logistics recovered stronger than ever. Marcus was offered millions in compensation for the damage done to his reputation, but instead of expanding his wealth, he used the money to establish the Johnson Hope Foundation, providing food, shelter, education, and legal assistance to homeless children across the country. Maya became the foundation's president while continuing her career as one of the nation's most respected attorneys. Every year, on the anniversary of the adoption that changed both their lives, Marcus and Maya returned to the same bus station where they had first met. Together they handed out meals, blankets, and school supplies, reminding frightened children that one act of kindness can rewrite an entire future. During one ceremony, a reporter asked Marcus what his greatest achievement had been, building a billion-dollar company or winning the biggest legal victory of his life. Marcus smiled at Maya before answering. Companies can be rebuilt. Money can be earned again. But giving a child hope creates a legacy that never dies. Maya quietly took his hand, no longer the homeless girl searching for a miracle but the daughter who had become one. Their story spread across the nation, inspiring countless families to open their hearts to children in need and proving that love, integrity, and sacrifice are investments that always return when least expected. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who believes kindness still has the power to change the world. Every news story here reminds us that true family is built not by blood, but by love, loyalty, and the courage to stand beside those who once stood beside us.